And we're live, everybody. Welcome to this week's LinkedIn Live by Gain. I'm your host, Zoe Cambuzi, Lean Gain Advisor, and I'm joined this week by Mike Cosqueta, President of Mews. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Zoe. Good to be here, and hello from London, here for the week.
Yeah, so I hear you're in the UK this week. How's it going? What's up
Well,
there?
it rains. It rains every 5 minutes, and it's bright and sunny every 5 minutes. It's a reminder I'm in the UK, but I love being here. We have a great team here. We have a lot of great customers here, and just given we have employees all over the world, this actually makes some of the time zone work a little easier, a little simpler, at least for this week.
Yeah, you can connect with all that EMEA crew in a
Definitely,
reasonable time zones. That's great, and see people face to face. There's nothing like face to face meetups. Honestly, goes
I
a long
agree.
way. Yeah,
I fully
brilliant,
agree.
brilliant, brilliant. Brilliant. So we've got you on this week because we want to know what you're working on at Mews, Mike. What's going on at Mews? What are you working on at the moment? Let us know.
Oh, there's so much. Half our team, half our company, is in the R&D world, and we know we're a technology first business. We're a cloud native platform, and that means we're always thinking about innovating. We're always able to innovate, and we're able to stay on top of a lot of the industry trends. And you could probably imagine, today there are really kind of three, core trends that are coming up everywhere. And they're bucketed into almost like an ultra simplistic set of categories. One is, how do I maximize, my revenue per square foot, per square meter? So, one of the key things we're working on is how do we help hotel owners, operators, managers look at their space as much more than just a bunch of rooms? How do they optimize the different things that they can monetize while, of course, enhancing, guest experience? The second is, kind of the opposite bucket, which is, how do I run my operation in a more cost-effective way? Labor costs are through the roof. Regulations don't stop. New taxes everywhere. A lot of complexity, a lot of uncertainty. So I think, again, especially hotel owners and asset managers thinking, how do I streamline my operation? So the second bucket really is about how do we help hotel owners and managers think about efficiencies and automations and simplifying the workflow. And the third really comes down to the most important entity out of all this, which is the guest, and thinking about how do we constantly provide the outstanding guest experience that that end customer is looking for. And obviously that could mean 100 different things to the hotel, but how do you make that guest experience really easy for the front desk associate to be able to deliver, for the housekeeper to be able to deliver, for a sales manager booking a conference center or booking out a wedding? How do they make that really easy? And we think a lot about automation and allowing the management staff and allowing the customer facing staff to be focused on the guest, and not focusing on typing on a keyboard and focusing on clicking buttons on a screen. So those aren't exact products we're working on, but those are the categories of products that we are working on, and happy to dive into more specifics that we're very excited about.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, they're broad and important categories that may have products or features in them, and there may be products or features that touch all three, right? So kind of working backwards a bit there and starting from guest experience, because I think, guest experience obviously is the reason why any of us do anything in the hospitality industry, whether you're a hotelier, whether you're a provider. That's should be our ultimate aim. But I was having this conversation with a dear friend, which is it seems to have left the conversation with some provider marketing, outward facing
Mm-hmm.
marketing at least. And I think that's something that we don't see from Mews. So it'd be interesting to kind of hear, why you've really kept guest experience at the forefront consistently in every single thing that you've done, like ever. It really has been top.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the credit of Matt and Richard, our founders, who come from hotel backgrounds, who spent years inside of hotels, feeling that pain, feeling that cringe of having to go through all these different steps while there's a human being sitting right in front of you, or some of the pet peeves. And I'll give Matt a shout out for his Matt Talk series that's very popular on LinkedIn. But showing up to a hotel that you've been at 15 times, and they're like, "Oh, is this your first time?" joining us. It tells someone you're a stranger. It tells someone we don't care about you. It tells someone, sometimes directly or indirectly, all those surveys we send you and all the feedback you give us, we actually don't incorporate any of it. But Mews has always been guest centric, because that is at the end of the day, that who our software is meant to help serve. So although our customers, the hotel, our software is only as helpful as it is for them to be able to provide the experience they want to that guest. And that experience could be an ultra luxury, highly personalized, Les Orel Versailles type experience, where your whole day and night is constructed around the time and the place and the sense of moment in this spectacular environment. It can also just be having a really clean, really efficient, really seamless check-in and check-out experience, so that you have a place to sleep in between meetings or on your way to your next business trip. Every guest experience is different, and every hotel is trying to provide something different. But that is really what's at the core. It's really what drives all of the things we do around AI personalization, guest record keeping, building guest profiles instead of a hotel room folio. Even just the simple nuance of what the difference there makes is really key to being able to provide that experience in an easy, lightweight, somewhat automated, but also somewhat self-directed way, so that you don't have to spend hours and hours researching. It really just does make personalization much easier.
Yeah, right. And I think today we've got so many more nuances between guest segments that we cannot provide the level of personalization that really we should be without that technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to see how guest segmentation, obviously as a marketer, that's fascinating to me. But can you talk a bit about that, how you kind of support your hoteliers to support different types of guests, and how maybe you've seen that played out anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, it could be through something as simple as just the built-in CRM inside Mews, or using one of our CRM partners, where you're starting to build the record of the individual, not the room, right? And it's like, what does this individual do on this property? And there are some individuals and some families who come to a property, and the only thing they do with that property is sleep in the bed. And that's okay. As long as you know that's a different experience. But obviously there's 24 hours in a day. And I think where we're seeing kind of the more sophisticated hotel operators look is like, how do we help provide more value so that we can monetize the rest of the 24 hours of a day, but do it in a way that the guest really loves? Do they love seafood? Okay, there's this amazing seafood restaurant on property. We should know that, and we should be recommending that based on historical patterns or whatever they know already about this guest, or whether they ask even the guest up front for some of that information. When a guest is celebrating some milestone, a birthday, an anniversary, a business trip, a big deal, whatever it is, how do we make that guest not only recognize that we know and we could help them turn that celebration into reality, but how do we then potentially offer up here's a partner of ours, who does event planning, or, hey, there's this beautiful horse and buggy ride through the park, for your anniversary, here's 50% off to go do it. So it's really about building the different pattern recognition and the different personalization pathways, and kind of offer those up to the hotels to then kind of package, for the end user. And that could happen in many forms. We do that very easily through our own CRM. We do it through AI personalization and automated guest profiling that helps build the behavior data of the end user, of that guest. Simultaneously, if this guest always spends a ton on food and beverage in the property, or they order the same wine all the time, those are little pieces of data that could be really helpful to a thoughtful hotelier. And we just want to make those data details, those insights, those workflows really super easy and simple, or allow the hotel owner to customize and personalize to whatever level fits their property and the experience and price point they're offering.
Yeah, right, because it's got to be customizable. Every hotel is different and caters for a different range of guests, right? So recently TripAdvisor put out this great marketing campaign, which the segmentation went a lot more than leisure travelers, business travelers, mice. It was like leisure travelers, okay, parents,
Pretty boring.
which I'm in that category. And it was like not just parents, but new parents, parents with teenagers, and then empty nesters.
Yep.
And it's once you kind of view like that, you're like, of course, those parents cannot even parents cannot be categorized all into one. There are different stages, and I love that. And I think going back to one of the things you said at the beginning, which I know you're really working on, is that idea of TrevPAR, right? You call it TrevPAR, or I know you go a bit further than that, but I'm guessing once you really know the guest, you can then monetize their entire stay. So could you talk a bit on that?
Yeah, and there's kind of so much in what you just said. Segmentation can go to the infinite level, right? And I was in a city a long time ago that I used to visit constantly for work. And one of the guys at the desk knew I was there all the time, and he actually he printed this article for me that said, "Is this your 100th time visiting blank?" Right? Because there's a lot of stuff for, hey, first time, first time in London, first time in Vegas, first time in Miami, what do you do? But what if you're there all the time? What, do you ignore that person? No, that's probably a really valuable guest to figure out. Well, how do I offer more things for that person to take advantage so that, again, you're not just making more money, you're truly enriching the experience. And that enriched experience has to be the value, not just the monetization side. Otherwise it'll just come across too transactional. On the TrevPAR topic, again, I think this is one of the biggest trends in the industry. And we're very proud to be able to help hotel owners and operators think about monetization of every aspect of their property, as well as all 24 hours of a day. So it's becoming much more common that people are going to go to a hotel and work while they're there. That's a COVID trend. That's a kind of a bleisure trend, right? Business and leisure mixed travel happens all the time. I'm going to spend 2 days at work, and then I'm going to spend 2 days with my family. So do they need a co-working space? Do they need access to a co-working space? There's a hotel I know in London that makes as much off of renting its desks, which are not real desks. They're just tables in the dining room, but they rent them out between off hours in the day. And it's an incredibly lucrative business. So it's about, again, what are the things my guests want and need in their 24-hour period? And how do I provide as much of that to them as possible in as easy of a way possible, in as seamless of a way possible? But again, doing it in a way that I can now know what is the real profile of this guest? What is that segment that they would fall into? Do they drive here? Do they fly here? Do they take Ubers? Do they use Get? Do they use Grab? Do they use Bolt? Do they go to the same restaurant over and over again? Well, we have a relationship with that restaurant. How can we enrich that? Can I send them a free dessert? Can I send them a bottle of wine? Oh, they don't drink. Again, the more details that you can build, the more ways you're able to offer value that people are willing to spend on. But that could also be more transactional stuff like renting out parking spaces, renting out certain dormant rooms based on seasonality. Maybe they could turn into working spaces or office space, renting out spa, areas, or renting cabanas. And we're seeing this TrevPAR concept also now extend to apartment buildings and long stay and corporate housing, where they don't just view themselves as providing an apartment building or a stack of flats in a tall high rise. They think about providing experiences. And people are willing to pay for experiences because at the end, they feel more enriched, by that value. And it takes a flexible, agile, cloud-based system to be able to do that and to do that, flexibly. And that's what we offer. And I think that is really a big, tailwind behind the industry and behind our space in the industry.
Yeah, 100%, and not at all lost on the industry in the last couple of weeks with what we've seen coming out of Airbnb. Because what you've just described is exactly where hotels need to go in order to stay competitive, right? After kind of the latest developments. So yeah, it's interesting.
Well, if you go back to the bucket, right? How do I increase revenue, right? How do I drop costs? No one should be confused by those two types of categories that any business owner is thinking about. Adding experiences allows you to monetize a different aspect of that day. But the third category remains key. How do I make sure that the experiences are things that the guests truly want, that they're excited about, and that when they do them or they purchase them, that the feedback is really positive? Because otherwise you've actually damaged your brand, right? You've damaged the experience by providing them either an unvetted experience or, an experience that feels like it's price gouging or something that's absurd, on the price point where, hey, I can go direct to XYZ provider and pay this, but you're charging me 50% more. So it cannot feel transactional. But again, why does someone stay at an Airbnb? Either for business or pleasure, mostly pleasure, right? And if they're staying for pleasure, what are the other things they do in that day? People want to be, they want their hospitality served easily. And that's something that I think a hotel operator should always be thinking about, because the guest is always thinking. That's why you have a concierge desk. That's why you have the little maps at the, at the front desk, because people do want help navigating and recommending, getting recommendations. And I think every hotel, could be thinking along those lines.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think every single stay that I ever have in a hotel, I'm definitely talking to the front desk and asking them where to eat, where to go, can I do this, can I do, like, they are my source. Even though I have access to
Totally.
digital, they're my source of, let's say, trusted information. So
yeah,
I really value what you said just now about kind of warning hoteliers that has to not be a transactional or be signaling that you're trying to make a profit out of it. Obviously, we're all trying to make revenue and keep our businesses going, but it can't be signaling that. It's got to be out of kind of the true hospitality in a way.
I agree.
Interesting. Yeah. And one thing I wanted to ask you, going back again to the pillars, the buckets that you talked about at the beginning, is about the tech stack, and perhaps either the complication of the tech stack, the we need to make it more efficient, we need to make it kind of talk to other technologies. Where do you see the gaps in the current tech stack / opportunities right now for hoteliers?
So there seems to be a bifurcated kind of segmentation within the industry of the concept of all-in-one. I want everything in one platform. I want to be able to do everything. And the opposite is I want the best in class of every single component of my operation. But then I need to make sure that they plug into one another. I think one of the incredible things about Mews is that the business has positioned itself in the middle and has now grown into both directions. We've been very public. We bought a revenue management system called Atomize. Simultaneously, we have incredible revenue management partners in our ecosystem that we love and want to keep and want to make sure are very happy partners. We bought an event management tool last year called Quotello. Simultaneously, we have several event management, and convention management, and all the different quoting and sales tools necessary to run an events business. We have many partners who do that as well. We have a point of sale in Europe. We don't have a point of sale in North America. We partner with several point of sale companies across the world. So I think that's really critical so that the hotel can really choose its own path. Does it want all in one? Well, you may get a lot that way, but maybe you don't get the best in class of everything, but it's built full stack, turnkey, nice and easy, simple, one place for everything. And that everything's going to be integrated. All the data go to the same place. That customer record we talked about, all data go to the customer record. Simultaneously, if you want just best in class, not all these tools like to talk to one another. And some of them are quite competitive with one another. But the way, again, I think Mews wanted to build the PMS in the first place is the property management system should be the nervous center of the hotel. Not just the hotel chain or the brand or the asset management company that's looking at all these different entities that could be apartments, short stay, long stay, senior housing, vacation rent, anything all in one. And that means everything has to be built open API, open ecosystem. And we love that hotels sometimes choose our first party products and sometimes they choose third party, because if they choose it and that's best for their business, where the system of record, then that's best for us. And I think the industry is going more and more to allowing an open ecosystem in a lot of places, and not all tools can flex that way. Simultaneously, people do seem to want a lot of those products from the same provider, but if and only if there's a real benefit to having them all stacked up. And I think we can show that. Simultaneously, we want to have an open ecosystem to allow our customers to choose who they want to partner with in many areas. But there's a whole nother layer to this we could talk about as well, which is how do you then take some of those tools and have them kind of cross over and benefit one another? How do you get revenue management to benefit the event management platform? Or how do the revenue management algorithms benefit your pricing inside your restaurant to better reflect what's happening in the industry and in your local area? That's where it gets really fun. That's where AI comes in. That's where having a true cloud-based platform allows that type of flexibility. Those are the things we think the industry is going to demand in not so far in the future.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the possibilities for what we're going to see in the next couple of years are amazing. You know, not just segmentation, but like you said, unifying different data sources, crossing perhaps previous systems that we never thought could talk, will now be able to talk and get information one from the other. I love it. It's brilliant.
And that matters. And Zoe, that's critical across state lines in the United States, across country lines. Two of the biggest challenges we hear from larger operators is balancing and managing all the data and insights from France with their German properties, or their Swiss properties with their Austrian properties. And you know, if you have properties all over the world, that becomes even harder, especially when some of them then run with different partners in different parts of the ecosystem as well. So that centralized data and centralized visibility is really critical. Again, not just to an operator, but to the big asset managers who seem to see hospitality as an incredibly fast-growing asset class to drive billions of dollars into. I think it's a really good place to be.
Absolutely. It feels very like it should already exist. Like we have the technologies to do that now. It's just about refining it, getting into place, standardizing it, and getting people to actually adopt it. So, you know, exciting times. We're coming up to the end, Mike. It's gone so quick. Only 20 minutes, but I did want to ask you, you know, your 1-year anniversary, I believe, in Mews is coming up very soon. And I just wondered if you had any reflections on this first year at this company.
33 days. In 33 days, it's 1 year. And I think the most common response is time flies, right? And the business is growing so fast. And again, I think there's incredible tailwind to the business. And I think the industry is growing. You see everywhere. Hospitality spend is up, travel is up. 20 years ago, only 8% of the United States was planning on taking an international trip. Now that number's 25%, you know, in the next 12 months. Americans traveling to Europe, 12% higher growth this year over last year. Maybe less Europeans going to the US for other reasons, but you know, travel is a very global thing by definition. And you've seen all these major markets start to open up, you know, to the world and to travel. So I love seeing it. I think this is one of the most fast changing industries I've ever seen. It's global by definition. To me, that brings massive complexity, lots of fragmentation challenges, segmentation challenges. But every time there's fragmentation or segmentation, there's an opportunity for a platform to truly come in, you know, and capitalize on it. And I think if I were to sum up the last 11 months in 2 customer quotes, one of them came from this idea of, you know, what used to be night audit, you know, and looking at all the accounting systems and kind of the reconciliation. The woman said, it takes my team 15 minutes to do what used to take 7 hours in the past. So there's real benefit happening inside that hotel. That makes me very proud to represent a company doing just that, right? The second is looking at how all of our tools have helped hotels make more money on every single transaction, whether it be because of the revenue management system or multi-currency, right? Or enabling guest personalization that helps them with upsell because they know these people like upgrades. One hotel told me, he's like, you made it so easy in 3 clicks for me to increase my just RevPAR, but RevPAR by 20%. Well, if 3 clicks can get 20%, I'm in the right place and the product is in the right place. But this is a fascinating industry. It's never going to stop changing. It's only going to get more complicated. But to me, that's the fun part. And that's why I think we're here.
Brilliant, brilliant. I love those quotes from the field. Yeah, keep on talking to hoteliers. They are brilliant. I love talking to clients. Fantastic. Mike, thank you so much. If you want to,
it's been fun. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been great having you on. And anybody listening, if you want to reach out to Mike, DM him on LinkedIn or any of the Gain folks, we're here, just a DM away. And have a great rest of your trip in sunny, rainy London.
And thank you, Gain, for the incredible partnership. You've been really an amazing asset for us. So excited to see that partnership continue as well.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Zoe.
Take care.
Have a great day. Take care, everyone.
Bye.